Later in life, here's Stugotz, and Jay Glazer has been this for a long time. You think of the loud, oafish guy fighting the robot on Fox and friends with all the players, but he's been doing some really cool work with our military. And on behalf of MVP, Merging Vets and Players, he's co-founded this with Nate Boyer. And if you know Nate's story, and we want to give you this information, vetsandplayers.org is where you go. Nate Boyer is the reason Kaepernick wasn't sitting during the anthem. He explained to Kaepernick that kneeling is always a sign of respect, whether you're being knighted, whether you're proposing to somebody. Usually nobody associates disrespect with kneeling. And so Nate gave him that advice. I believe, Nate, correct me if I'm wrong, and thank you for joining us, that you wrote something, right? And then Colin Kaepernick reached out to you because you wrote something saying that you thought it was disrespectful, and then he sought you out?
Yeah, I didn't really say it was disrespectful. I wrote an open letter when he started sitting on the bench, back in 2016 during the anthem. And I just wrote an open letter sort of explaining my feelings and my relationship to the flag, the anthem, stuff like that because of my time in the military. And I had a lot of the people that I served with that, felt a certain way about it. And I also wanted to understand more and hear more. I think, anymore with a lot of mainstream media, it's tough to like cipher through and figure out what's actually going on. And I was reading a lot of headlines and hearing sound bites. And so when it came to what he was actually, quote unquote, standing up for or sitting for at that time, I couldn't fully understand myself because, it was just hard to figure out what was really coming from him. And also partly, I think it was just for myself and a lot of people to just get that out in the air and like have more conversations and listen more. And if it's something that we're not fully aware of and I don't know, it's about communication more than anything. And so I wrote that letter and he ended up reaching out and we ended up getting together and talking through the situation and why he was doing what he's doing. And at the end of our conversation, he asked if there was another way I thought he could protest that would not offend people in the military. I said no, because there's nothing you can do that's not going to offend some people. But we sort of just found this common ground and came to this place where we both thought kneeling was maybe a better option. I kind of threw it out there. I thought being alongside his teammates was the most important thing. He agreed it was a better form of protest. And so that night he took a knee for the first time, and that's where the kneeling started.
For those of you who do not know, he is an Army Green Beret. He has served multiple tours, Iraq and Afghanistan. I want to ask him about those things as well. But I just want your perspective on, you give this advice and then you think what is going to happen after that. You give that advice and you are how mortified by what's happened to his career since then.
Yeah, I'm not going to say it was surprising just because putting yourself out like that, I think in any regard these days, especially in the public eye, like the amount of scrutiny that's going to come with that, especially with social media, it's just one of those things. But he felt compelled. He felt strong about something. He felt that what he was eventually kneeling for was far more important, I think, than his career. But I don't think he expected that to just be the end all, and for him to feel like he'd never have another opportunity. So that, that's a tough thing. I will say through all this, maybe that message has amplified more and more because he never played again. I don't know. But I think he should be, proud of how it's expanded. I mean, you look at sports across the world now, and what that message stands for. And then through, a really tough year, 2020 and George Floyd and obviously COVID and all this stuff, how it seemed to be at least a lot more people that had somehow never even heard this thing or fully understood why he was protesting that listened and, maybe changed their tune. Maybe a lot of that was BS, but I'd like to hope that at least some of that was genuine and a lot, and that there is going to be a continued change and progress made. So at the end of the day, like I wouldn't do anything different, and I hope he'd at least somewhat feel the same way.
But if I came to you in that moment, you've given this advice, okay, it's going to happen this way, Nate, and I said, worst case scenario, what's going to happen here? You would have said what?
I don't know what I would have said. Worst case? I mean,
Okay.
I don't know, that's a tough one.
Okay, yes, there could be, yes, worst case, I suppose there could be an assassination to make him an actual martyr. I didn't mean to head there. I'm just saying, did you think it would result in what it's become, which is, to me, the worst plausible case, which is that the NFL somehow blackballed him after you asked him to do something respectful, and he did after he sought you out.
I don't know. I do believe there's just a lot of nuance with that. And, I mean, maybe this is a cop out, but I try to put myself in other people's shoes and other people's perspectives. When I thought about this through the years of, like, if I was in the front office somewhere, that fear of, I mean, it's a business, and that fear of, like, oh, am I going to divide my locker room? Am I going to divide my fan base? Like, is this going to be a lightning rod, a backup, if he's a backup quarterback at that time, I mean, obviously at his peak, not long before this ended, he was one of the top 10, one of the top 5 probably at some point. So I see that. But also, like, I think I somewhat understand that hesitance. And, there were teams that reached out and brought him in, and it was just like, but it wasn't going to be the same contract. It wasn't going to be the same position. It's like, I can't imagine him ever being a backup quarterback. I just couldn't see that. I mean, I was a huge 49er fan first and foremost, and he was incredible, especially in 2012, 2013. And then I don't know, like, once that all started, like to be a signal caller and waiting in the wings, like, I just couldn't see that from his standpoint either. So I wasn't super surprised that he never played again. Did I think it was, like, right? No. But I just, after all that happened, I don't know. I wasn't shocked.
As Dan mentioned earlier, you were a former Green Beret in the Army, multiple tours, Iraq and Afghanistan. And so I'm wondering, Nate, what has bothered you as you've watched the coverage of everything that has happened here and unfolded in Afghanistan?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, it's heartbreaking to see, more than anything, just the people, the Afghan people. And I mean, when you saw, if anybody here saw that, probably the video of the Air Force jet trying to take off, the plane trying to take off. And yeah, there's 800 people inside, but there's hundreds, if not thousands more outside trying to get on and get out of there. And, it's, you get a lot of mixed messaging, of course, not only back in the States, but even when you're deployed. And there's plenty of people that were over there that thought from the jump that, we should never be here. They don't want us here. But that's also with a lot of nuance, because there's certainly a lot of people that did and appreciated us. I mean, driving through in these big Humvees, which I'm sure is very daunting to a lot of people, I remember getting far more, thumbs up from kids than people throwing rocks or something like that. So I know there was at least a lot of people that appreciated that. I know without a doubt the men that we fought alongside, the Afghan military, that were so appreciative of what we were trying to help build. At the end of the day, though, like, it's not an easy task. It's not an easy mission, and they don't have the resources we have here. They don't have what we have. And we also live in a country where we know, as American troops, like, if we don't make it back, we're going to be honored. We're going to be appreciated. Our families are going to get taken care of, and they don't have that luxury. So it's like that breaks my heart more than anything, just to see those people and how rough that's going to be for them for the rest of their lives. I mean, I don't know. I still have a hope, and I pray for those people, and I got to believe that there's another way, and this is not over for those that don't want to live under Taliban rule. But I don't know, and that's what's really frustrating. I mean, beyond the 20 years that a lot of people from this country poured into, and and they lost brothers and sisters as well. Beyond all that, I just think of the people there first and foremost.
Do you question the worth of that war?
I don't question what I did. I don't question any of that, and that's all I can really say. I mean, oppression is oppression, no matter where it is. There's oppression in the United States. There's oppression in Afghanistan. There's oppression all over the world, and if there's not people doing what they can to fight that and try to change things, then I don't know what there is, and I won't question that. I won't question the idea that what we were trying to do there, boots on the ground level, was the right thing, and trying to be there for them when it comes to to government and politics and the other places. Like I don't know, I don't know. I can't speak for that, and that's certainly going to be a mixed bag no matter who you talk to. But we've got people that volunteered and did something because they thought it was the right thing to do and poured their heart and soul into it, to ultimately fight for those that can't fight for themselves. And I don't question that. I never will.
Do you question what Pat Tillman gave his life for?
No, I don't. Because I mean, he gave his life for ideals and for people, for a hope of a better life. And it's hard to say who knows what a better life is and who knows what's best for anybody else and for another place. But yeah, I think now Pat was one of my heroes. That's one of the reasons I joined. I actually didn't join until after he had passed. And I growing up, I was always, I wanted to be a football player first. I wanted to be a pro athlete. And so, those were my heroes. And I never even considered the military until after 9/11. And then when that happened to Pat, it was even like another thing that was just like, man, this person was willing to give up, everything to go try and help people and just try and be a good person. And, the more you learn about him and his legacy and like who he was, even way back when he was, in high school, college, like he was just a person that was not okay with injustice, and he just wanted to help people and fight for people. And that's inspiring. It's tragic the way that he passed. And, but I don't question that because of what he was trying to do, I think, as an individual.
What are you allowed to say about the reported details on the way that he died? What's the nuance we'd be missing there? You are a good soldier. You fight for patriotism. You are actually much braver than us. You are out there fighting for something. But for someone like me who's not a soldier and looks at that and is just mortified by what he died for because we covered it up in friendly fire, what am I not understanding because I'm not a soldier?
That, it's war is a very ugly thing. It's a very complicated thing, and terrible things happen. That doesn't justify covering anything up like that. Like I was never on board for that. And I didn't even know until later when other people found, I didn't know about that. And, when I found out what had actually happened, that was even more heartbreaking, not because of how it happened, but because, it was not told, the truth wasn't told. And, and that's awful. But just going back to like only being able to control what we can control just in life generally, there's only so much we can do. There's so many things that are out of our hands. And I think of it, in this comparison to sports, I guess, how many people poured their lives into, trying to make it to the Olympics, or try to make it to, the NBA, or trying to win a championship or whatever. And they gave everything they had and they never made it to that place. They ultimately failed, but they gave it all and they poured their life into it, and it probably made them a better person. And maybe they lost their life in the process, not just in sports and anything, but like, does that mean that it was all for nothing? I don't know. I don't think so. That doesn't feel like the best way to look at it. So I do want to put out there for any person that was a part of the last 20 years in Afghanistan, to understand there's people out there, a lot of people out there like you, feeling like you feel you're not alone. But also, like, I don't want you to feel like your life was for nothing. Your life's work was for nothing because, you were trying to help people. You were trying to make the world a better place. And that's all you can do. That's all you can control.
You've got to get out of here because you've got a flight merging vets and players. It's a worthy cause. Vetsandplayers.org. He's doing it with Jay Glazer. Before we get you out of here, just last thing real quick. Green Beret training. The worst of it was what? The worst to become a Green Beret in your training, what you would say to us the most arduous thing was?
Just the grind, to be honest. I mean, you're not sleeping, you're not eating for long periods of time when you're out in the field training, going through SEER school, which stands for Survival, Evasion, Resistance, Escape, essentially a mock POW camp. It's very, very hard. And it's funny, you take a lineup of guys that sign up, and if you pick the ones that you'd pick with your eyes are never the ones that ultimately make it through. It's just because you never know what somebody's made of inside. And we come from all shapes and sizes and backgrounds, and lack of experience. The ones that ultimately make it through, it's just they want it more than anybody else, and they're willing to they're not willing to quit, I should say.
Vetsandplayers.org. You got to get out of here. If you want to tell us anything before you do on this, vetsandplayers.org.
Just good to be good to one another. That's the best way to honor those that didn't make it back from Afghanistan, or honor those people in your life that you've lost. Is just not only remembering them in a positive way, but the way that you live your life, living that positive life, and being there for one another. I mean, that's it. That's all I got.
Thank you, Nate. Noel, I'd like to talk to you again where we have a little bit more room, because your subject matter, you're being such a good soldier, and you're saying at every turn, I don't know, because you're really stuck in a place between saying things publicly that might feel unpatriotic when we just got out of a war that was pretty much a historic American disaster. But you're a good soldier. And so I'd like to talk to you more deeply about this stuff when we have more time.
Absolutely, brother. I'm down.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Nate.